Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 5. Can you believe it's day 5 of the Becoming Firmly Rooted Challenge? This is really great. So let's look over the last few days or the last 4 days. We got into understanding who you were, breaking down the areas that perhaps you were not as proficient at in life and ones that you were. We did that work for a couple days, and then we went into the ancestry tree. I'd really like to hear today, after we get through with class here, you guys to just share a little bit about the work with us so we can have some kind of feedback. That would be really great. So today we're going to share the powerful tool of parts work. Lori and I love this. I really feel that it's the sister to the inner child work. They're like twins. They both support each other and they're very, very powerful. I love them. You can so I've always called it breaking the energy of your story when we get into the inner child work, because it allows you to see the storyline as not as intensive as it used to be when you go in and you support yourself. So parts work is recognizing the parts, and Lori's going to take it from here and I'll pop back in. I'm going to stay with you guys, but I think you guys are going to really love this. All right, Lori. Thank you.
Yeah, and just like I said yesterday, for each of these topics, we've got, so many different tools and processes and different ways to approach it. So it's always a little bit challenging to come in and say, okay, here's this little snippet of this, because what the work that we do is so first of all individualized, right? It's like, let's get to know your parts, let's get to see the best avenue for your experience or what you're trying to really work on and up level. But having said that, what you're going to get today with respect to an understanding of parts work and how it can play a role in you becoming firmly rooted is going to be very valuable. So as you're listening and taking notes, know that we're here to support you in this process. We recognize that, we're giving you a lot of content over these several days, and we really want to do that so that you can see and start to understand that there's a real path with real tools and real things that you can do every day to change the energy, the old story, to become that firmly rooted person who knows who they are, right? Who honors who they are, who can really own who they are, who can show up in the world and in situations as that greatest self. And when you do that, and you know that you have this strong relationship right beside you every single day, someone who knows you, someone who understands you, someone who knows your needs and can meet them, you feel safe and secure in the world. Right? We keep talking about that big, beautiful oak tree that has its roots down to the center of the earth. That's what, we're working towards. That's what we're developing for ourselves, so that, storms come, winds come, and we feel a little swayed, or we say our leaves get a little rustled, but we don't, fall over. We're not uprooted. We're not tossed about by life. So parts work is a beautiful methodology, and you may have heard it. It's called inner family system. Sometimes it's called, and everybody does it just a little bit different. And as Mia was saying, we incorporate a lot of inner child work into the parts work that we teach. And there's so much beautiful things that come out of it. Today, we're going to use it to help you hear what your needs are, and then understand what the loving action is. Because remember, if we have that person, we're developing and really getting a sense of that person that stands beside us in every single moment and knows us, understands us, knows what our needs are and can meet them. So that's what we're using parts work, and the way that we're going to talk to you about it and invite you to use it on your own through the integration work for today. So, parts work really helps us reunite the parts of ourselves that we may have hidden away, that we may have ignored because we didn't like them, or because we didn't feel like they were acceptable. And it really helps us bring all of our parts together, because we will never experience that feeling of completeness and wholeness if we are isolating parts or telling parts of ourselves that we're bad, or not allowing parts of ourselves to be heard, understood, and taken care of. And that is basically something that everyone, to some degree or another, at some point in their life has or will struggle with. So this can be a very powerful modality for bringing wholeness and bringing, synthesizing all of us into the truth of who we are, which is something that we've been talking about over the last few days. So this is, kind of just that little bit high level overview of parts work. But, as I sit here right now, I can identify several parts of me, right? There's a part of me that feels thirsty. There's a part of me that is really happy to be sitting with you guys and sharing this information. Part of me that maybe wants to go back to bed. Part of me that, on and on and on. And I'm sure if you really sat and opened up to that, you would also identify many parts of you. Sometimes we have a part of you that says, I did this thing yesterday and it feels really bad. But another part says, well, I had to in order to protect myself. As I had a conversation with someone yesterday about this, where they had taken some action that felt misaligned, but there was another part that said, I really needed to do that in order to take care of myself. And so we have these parts all the time. A part of you that is in a relationship doesn't know what to do. A part of me wants to stay. A part of me wants to leave. A part of me wants to do this, right? We have these parts all the time. We have parts that, we get upset or nervous or overwhelmed or whatever. A part of us that wants to eat, and a part of us that says, I don't want to eat because that's not in alignment with my health goals, and I want to lose weight. So I've got this part that wants to eat, this part that wants to stay aligned with my health goals. We have parts all the time. So I think that gives you a sense of what I'm talking about when I'm saying, there's different parts of us. Now, sometimes, we take that part, like, let's say the part that wants to eat, and we make it bad. And we say, oh, I hate that part of me. That part of me is wrong. That part of me is bad. I just want to get rid of that part, right? But that part has beautiful, beautiful information for you. That part is always good, meaning it has good intentions. It wants something for you. Maybe that part wants to take care of you and comfort you and bring you a sense of peace, right? So when we take that part and we make it bad and we say, I don't want to hear from you, I just want to get rid of you, right? There's all this inner conflict and certainly, not that peace and contentment that we're looking for. So instead of being in a state where we are, nervous about this part or really trying to fight a part of ourselves, we can use parts work to welcome that part in, understand what it is trying to do for us, work with it, and actually come to a better solution, one that satisfies that part, that validates and honors that part, but also honors the other parts of us as well. So I like to think of parts work in a really easy way to understand it as kind of like being the coach of a team, right? Your higher self or your greatest self is the coach, right? Or the grace-filled mother of a family. And so your higher self it's not a part, it's the beauty, it's the essence of who you really are, right? It is your truth. And then the parts are the children or the team members. So the goal in parts work is to get really grounded in the truth, right, of who you are, your higher self. When you're connected to your truth, to divinity, to what I'm talking about. We've been developing it over the course of the week. So when you really have that sense of your truth and who you are, that higher place, you act as the mediator for your different parts. And it can be a conversation with just one part when you really need to get to know it. It can be a conversation among your parts when you want them to work together. So this is a very interesting, powerful modality that you can use to solve issues in your life, to understand behaviors that you do not want to do, to break patterns, right? You may have a part that continually gets you into, a certain kind of relationship or a job that doesn't suit you or whatever it is. And so this is a tool that we can use to really work on a lot of areas in our life. So I'm going to go through these 4 steps, really, the actual method. Now, remember, when we are giving you processes, don't get tied up in, oh gosh, am I doing this exactly right? As I said yesterday, what we're offering you is never some magic formula that you have to get just right. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. What we're offering you is the opportunity to open up to your own inner wisdom and your own spiritual guidance. So think about that when you're going through the integration work, and know that if you're doing it right, this is Mia and my motto: if you're doing it, you're doing it right. Now, when we work with people, they come back and they talk to us about how the integration work is going, and then we can guide them further. And it's this beautiful constant dance of refining and everything. Let's see, let's mute that. Mia, can you, as the host here, can you mute?
Yes.
Thank you. So let's go through the 4 steps, and if you have questions as you sit down to do your own parts party, as I like to call it, reach out. That's what this challenge is all about. We're giving you some great ideas, some things to help you really develop that sense of safety and security. But if you're in the middle of an exercise or something and you have some questions, we are here. We have cleared this space, this challenge. We put it into our calendars, and we make sure that we have plenty of time to support you guys while you're going through the challenge. That is the goal. So, Mia, anything that you want to say about parts work in general before we really dive into the integration work for today?
I just really want you guys to know that each and all of this work and parts work is so beautiful and valuable for you. And it really is very healing. So if you first identify a part and you're angry with it, okay, that's all right. I was really angry with a lot of my parts before I could soften up and heal them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And literally, it goes smoother and faster when you are gentle with yourself and you put that awareness in, like, oh, okay, this exists. This is part of who I am. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I want something different? So remember to always be with yourself as you're doing this. This is all about you. This is just like your meditations, your prayers, your if you're a mystic, your mystic work, your yoga work, whatever, this is part of the healing process for you. So you're doing it right when you're opening your heart to it, and get the support that you need to move through those spaces that might feel like you're stuck, because we can tweak. I call it tweaking.
Yeah.
Of course, there's also a bad word about drug people who are tweakers, but I don't mean it that way. I just mean we just slightly adjust you with the support so that you are having your healing. Remember, any kind of healing is about you having a healing, not about Lori and I healing you or changing, and you have to do the work too. And that's where the massive shift changes. There are a lot of people who don't believe, or they do the work and they're like, oh, that was so fantastic. And then maybe a year later, they're like, well, I thought I worked on that and healed it. Why is it come back? We bring back with us stuff because you haven't released it all the way. And a lot of times that's due to fear. It hangs around because of fear. So get the support you need to remove it, and it's gone. And know that as you're going through this and shifting and making these changes and these aha awarenesses and, oh, wow, that's right, I'm shifting out of that into a different space, that you are healing yourself. That's what I think is important also for you to know, that this is work that you're doing for you. So you're incredibly powerful, engaging with yourself, connected.
Yeah,
Just wanted to share.
absolutely. So beautiful. Thank you. So I'm going to just go through the four parts. This is in your integration work. So you do not need to, feel like you need to be taking all the notes and getting it all down. I spelled it out pretty specifically in the integration work, but I want to give you the overview and then go into it. And certainly if you have questions with respect to it now or later as you're implementing, you can always go back and watch the video again to kind of, hear it again, because if this is totally new to you, you should not have the expectation that you hear it once and you're like, oh, okay, got it. Totally gonna just, use this whole new tool. There's a lot of pieces. So give yourself the grace of knowing that it may take you a few attempts. It may take you may have some questions that you need answered. So let's just, really approach it with a lot of grace and willingness to learn something new.
I think
So
it's also really important, Lori, that in that space, do allow yourself time. This is not a race. You're not a racehorse, because you actually want to make it to the end of your journey, doing as much as you can to create a great life for yourself and to be grounded and rooted. So take your time. And if you're moving too slowly or you think you can't shift out of it, again, get support. But do absorb everything that you're seeing and feeling. Even if you don't like it, journal it. It's really important. And that's how we also release it up to the ethers or out of our experiences, by journaling, putting it into that paper.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing that we're going to do, the first step is to identify. And I use the acronym. I created the acronym ICVC for the 4 steps. And the I stands for identify. You just want to be aware of the different parts. Oh, like I was saying earlier, there's a part of me that wants to stay in this relationship and make it work. There's a part of me that wants to run away screaming. There's a part of me that wants to eat right now. There's a part of me that wants to honor my health goals. There's a part of etc. And please don't feel like, oh, I have to identify them all. If there's just a couple that come up, that's perfect, especially when you're learning a new modality. It's better to start with just 1 or 2 and work with them and get used to the process. And the 1 or 2 that come up are the 1 or 2 that are ready to be heard and to be worked with. So it's, you can trust that. So the I is identify. Really understand there's a part of me that whatever. The second step is the first C, which is to learn to communicate with that part. And that just means talk to me. Let me hear what you have to say. Now, I'm not calling you in part so that I can change you or so that I can get rid of you, right? Who would talk, right? If I brought someone in and said,
Right.
come and talk to me so I can get rid of you. What kind of conversation would that be, right? Do we want to welcome this? We want to know, I am not trying to get rid of you. I want to understand you. And I know that you're good. Your intentions are good. A lot of people think, I hate that part of me. That part of me wants to sabotage me. I just need to get rid of that part of me because it does things I don't like. And that is that confrontational relationship will root it in more. You've heard the phrase, what we resist persists. That is a great example of how that shows up. So our parts are to be loved and cared for. A lot of our parts are younger parts of us. It's like, a little 4-year-old part of us. And we're like, you're bad. I hate you. Stop doing this to me. Right? You're never going to get anywhere. So learning to communicate means opening up the door and just allowing that part to say whatever it wants without judgment, right? We'll say more about that. The third step is the V, which is to validate, right? That experience. I understand you. Okay. You have the right to feel that way. Validate the part and really honor it. The fourth C is, or the fourth step in the second C is to cooperate with that part. We want to work with our parts. That's how we're going to get results. I don't know if any of you have teenagers, but you know the difference if you do, or you've watched TV shows. I mean, come on, everybody knows the obstinance of a teenager, right? So when we tell the teenager, you're not going to do that, later that night, they're sneaking out the window, right? Or whatever they're doing. They're rebellious. They're going to do what they're going to do. So we can either cooperate with them, or we can have them running away, slamming the door, doing what they want anyway. So cooperation is huge in it, but it comes at the end, because you can't cooperate with someone that you haven't heard, that you haven't really, identified and heard from and validated in a way that was open and loving and compassionate. So please think about that aspect as you're going through. So there's some tips that we can do to help us get in touch with that part, right? Because in the IFS world, the inner family systems, which is kind of the birthplace of parts work, they talk about our parts a lot of times being blended, which means, we're hearing from all the parts at the same time, and it's kind of hard to really understand any individual part if we're getting, everybody's talking at the same time. Same with the family, right? When my kids are all around and everyone's like at the same time, I don't really know what's going on. So there's a few little tricks and tools that we can use to help unblend or separate the parts so that we have better access to what they're saying. And one of them is to use different color ink. If you're journaling and you're writing these things down, let your parts choose what color they want to communicate with you. Let them decide if maybe some of the parts, like we were saying earlier, may be very young parts. Maybe that part wants to express itself through pictures or any other type of expression. It does not have to be written words. So let that part just express itself in whatever feels most natural to it. So the different colored parts, you can also, a lot of people will have discovered the technique and will use the dominant hand for writing as your higher self, and will use the non-dominant hand for writing as the parts. And that kind of, signifies that the higher self is the truth of who I am. It is the clear expression. And then the parts, not that they're bad, but they are, only a part of me. They're only the way that I have taken the influences of the world and my own experiences and woven a story, right? That's what the parts are. They're not us. They're a part of us, right? So when we identify so much with the part of me that feels anxious, the part of me that feels unlovable, we become unlovable, but it's only a part of us. Our higher self knows that we're infinitely lovable, that we couldn't be more lovable, right? Our higher self knows that we are peace and serenity. The part is experiencing anxiety. I am not anxious. I have a part of me that feels some anxiety. And that is so powerful because we recognize we don't get so caught up in it, right? When we are overly identifying with the part, it's like having the part right here in our face. We don't know the rest of us. We can't see who we truly are because we're just all up in that part, identifying with that part. So it's really helpful to see that part as just one aspect of us. The truth of who we are is our higher self. We can kind of lose the sense of that. We can lose the ability to act from that when we're all up in the part and we're like, no, I'm anxious. No, I'm overwhelmed. No, part of you feels that way. Using the different colors or the different hands really just is an embodiment of that understanding. The other thing that is awesome that actually in the IFS world, they use a lot of things like setting up chairs for the different parts so that they can sit and be, honored and think of, like a meeting where everybody is invited and has a say. You can use objects for the different parts. And it helps to create that atmosphere where it's a conversation and stay connected to the part instead of, it can be a little bit challenging to stay with, with the thinking of yourself as this group of parts. So these are some of the tools, and obviously, we're giving you a lot about this modality, and we work on it over many sessions when we're working directly with people. But this gives you a sense of what we're talking about when we say that we want to, see ourselves as the different parts, maintaining our connection with higher self. So I have an example in the homework, and I don't think that that we need to necessarily go through it now, but just, really start to think about the different parts that we all have. There's that inner child part that just wants to be loved and heard and cherished, right? We all have an inner critic. We're all very familiar with our inner critic who says, you're not doing it right. You need to be perfect. Most of us have, or many of us that come to this forum are perfectionists, and we have a perfectionistic part that says, you have to do it way up here. Yep, everything you do has to be 100% perfect, and you're not allowed to make mistakes. And if you do, you're a loser. You never do enough. You're not worthy in one sense or another. So as you're thinking about it, don't worry about putting the right label on, right? A lot of people will get caught up in, oh, I don't know what to call that part. Is that inner critic or is that perfectionist? Don't worry about that. Separate them as best you can and really just start to relate to them. This is a process. And over time, you will see yourself getting better and better at it, both with respect to identifying the parts and being compassionate to the parts. That is a skill, and that is something that is built over time. So with this explanation and what we've given you in the integration work, I do believe you are ready to start to identify and work with your parts. Because this is kind of a specific kind of a process. I'd love to, maybe, Mia, do we have a few minutes to open it up for any questions?
Yes, I'd like that. Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be a good use of time today.
So ask your questions, guys. It's really important for us to be able to connect with you, because we don't even know where you're going, thinking, and feeling. And it also gives us some feedback here. Also remember to post in the Facebook group, in addition to right now, and to book your call.
Because Mia and I, the way that we have learned over the years, we've learned to be very fluid in the way that we work, the way that we present, the way that we teach, because we realized, very early on, it doesn't do much good if we have in our mind, okay, I'm going to teach this and this, and if it's not landing, or if it's not what's needed, or there's these questions, like, we want to be fluid to meet your needs. And so that's what we develop. That's how we develop the things that we're offering, is through you guys. So definitely, would love to hear about either your experience, or maybe there's a part where you're like, nope, I am not going to be nice to that part. I do not appreciate the things that part makes me do.
And you're not going to get scolded if you're not caught up. It's about the work. And we give a lot of content, and we also need to know if it's too much content, right?
Yeah.
Because some of the content can be stretched out over 2 days. So we find that it's great, but it might not be. Okay, so Amber says, sorry, can't go on, but how often or when do we do this? Only when feeling stuck? Once a day?
Beautiful question. I love it. Thank you, Amber. So I would say with all of the work, there's two times, like you're talking about, when I'm feeling stuck, when I'm feeling triggered, and then other time when I might be feeling more at peace or connection with my higher self. And what this is really important with respect to all the work that we give and offer. If you wait until you're feeling triggered and stuck, that's a great time, because you have lots of material in there and it's just rich with what you need to move forward. But it's hard to do these practices. It's hard sometimes to even remember that there's something to do. In the stuck times or the triggered times, you're probably experiencing some kind of nervous system activation. You're probably, finding it hard to connect with your higher self in those moments. So if you wait and only practice in those moments, you're going to have a really hard time developing this practice. It's not going to be fulfilling. You're not going to feel yourself moving forward. So it's important to use the modality to have it so that it's not something new and hard outside the moment, so that when you're in the moment, you have it and you know how to use it, and it's not foreign and it's not overwhelming, right? So, and a lot of people, they don't understand that because they think, oh, I'm feeling great, I don't need to do anything. But the work you do when you're feeling great grounds you into that feeling great, grounds you into that connection with your higher self. So let's see. My pattern is to go into self-work more when I've made a huge mistake and can't let go of the painful one or the physical ailment to heal. Yeah, and that's exactly what we find. And that's why, we know how the brain works. Everything Mia and I do is so rooted in neuroscience and the understanding of the nervous system and what is effective and when. So what you're explaining to us is, yeah, it's right here, right? That pain is right here. I want to get rid of it. I want to do something. And so that's when we tend to put in the effort or the time. But it's actually really hard in those moments, unless it's something that you have, developed with yourself and have familiarity with when you're feeling good. That's why the dedicated space of time, creating the listening room that we talked about yesterday is so important, so that you have a regular, protected, sacred time where you're doing this kind of work. Then it translates into the triggered, intense moments in a much easier way. And you just, you get to really use that rich, triggered place, and it yields huge benefit.
There are many people who feel a specific way and go on, and I'll call it an excavation, right? They're looking to remove, to heal what's going on. So all of us in life, if we're on our journey, we have the awareness that something's coming up that's not smooth for us. So if you're serious about your journey, everybody can choose whatever they want. This is no judgment. Here it's a safe haven.
Yeah.
There's no shame, blame, or judgments at all. So if you're seriously on your journey and you want to dig in, because these things come up and they're going to make you feel bad. They're going to throw you out of alignment. So of course you're going to want to look and dig into them. I just have to share a secret about Lori. She doesn't know I'm sharing this.
Wait a minute. No, I'm just kidding. You guys can know anything you want.
She is one of the most magnificent diggers I've ever seen. So she gets a concept or an idea, she gets an awareness that she's out of alignment, and she literally will go after it until it's gone. And
I use my stubbornness for good.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing. And sometimes I'll cry during mine and just, where are you? What are you? But it's amazing. And I just want to share one little thing. A lot of people know that last year, when I had cancer, I was going through a really dark time. And I still taught, and I was still up and happy and spiritual and all that, but I was dealing, like we all do, with our own stuff. There was one storyline that kept coming up and bringing darkness. And it was my 3-4-year-old who was an obstinate little thing. And when I recognized it and worked on it, I saw her within my vision a month later. Instead of always being in darkness like she was a shadow type thing, she was this little girl playing on my front lawn. And I was like, wow, that's such an amazing feeling to know that anger and that frustration, and I would just get really dark and then be angry and frustrated. It's gone. It hasn't returned in that way. There's love in that space of being. So this is why this work is so powerful, because we don't know what we're going to unearth, but we do know it's aspects of us. And so now sometimes when I recognize that there's something that I haven't healed, it's not that I get angry with myself, but there's so much more compassion and love for that little being of who I used to be and how I love her and want to support her. So you're developing also with this an incredibly intense connected relationship with yourself. You begin to trust, and that's why you're here. And you
Yeah.
begin to feel rooted in your own essence of who you are. So this work is very valuable, very important. And if it scares you, let us know, right? Because it's not that it's there to scare you, but sometimes people don't want to look at themselves, and that's what scares them, not the work.
Yes.
It's the fear that you're feeling or the frustration or what's behind the story.
Right, exactly. And just that feeling of, oh, this is going to make me uncomfortable. And that's not even a really truly conscious decision. That's going to make me something is feeling uncomfortable. And our natural tendency is to protect, to
Mhm.
not be uncomfortable. But what we don't understand is that we push down and try to protect ourselves from being uncomfortable. But what does that yield? It yields years and years of being uncomfortable. It's just a different kind of uncomfortable, where the uncomfortableness that we're talking about and doing the work it's an uncomfortableness, but it's also a loving space. And it's a space where you get to be uncomfortable for a period of time while you're loving yourself through it and developing. And then you get this period of beautiful peace and serenity that comes from your willingness to be a little bit uncomfortable. So when we weigh the two, it's like, can I be uncomfortable in a loving way and then have this, beautiful expansive time where I just feel peace and serenity? Or should I just be uncomfortable all the time? Right? Because you're not choosing between comfort and discomfort. You're choosing between two different brands of uncomfortable. And doing the work is it's a short-term thing. It's a place where once you get started in learning the tools and knowing how to meet those needs and take care of yourself, the work is not always pretty, but it's beautiful. Versus, oh, I'm in conflict all the time. I don't know what's going on. And that's the difference. That's exactly what this challenge is. Becoming firmly rooted over here with the knowing that when something comes up, I can lovingly be uncomfortable and then break through it, versus I'm going to be feeling tossed about by everything, every circumstance that comes in to my life. And Mia, I will say, as a witness to this beautiful journey that you were on, there was, yes, she's describing it and she's sharing with us vulnerably that, oof, that was uncomfortable. But at the same time, she, being a firmly rooted individual, it wasn't a dark place in that, oh, I'm alone, I don't know what to do here. It's like, okay, I see what's happening. Here's how I lovingly meet that. And so it's a very different kind of, time in life than it would have been without the tools, without the ability to really lovingly care for the part that was coming up.
And how can you be afraid of yourself, right? It might be sorrow and sadness of the situation, but you can't be afraid of yourself. It's an aspect of you that is begging you to look at it, to nurture,
Yeah,
to love.
yeah. And when we don't have the tools or don't understand the process, haven't been through it with a couple of, issues or events or whatever in our life, then we do, because it's the unknown. But once you start working with it, life comes and you're like, yeah, I need a parts party. Okay, make the time and space for that, and then come out of it thinking, okay, I have my clarity, I have my answer, because I have that access to higher self, which guides everything. That's why it's such a foundational piece. Me and I have two foundational pieces that we instill into people before we go into the rest of the work, and that is rooted in your higher self, and having the ability to regulate your nervous system, to be in that place of calm and peace, as opposed to shut down and overwhelm, or way up high in anxiety and stress. So being in that beautiful zone, that's where you can make such incredible progress. I just want to mention a couple of things about what we were saying earlier. Of course, you guys got behind. This is a lot, and you have busy lives and all of that. Mia and I are giving you in these 7 days a taste of what's it like to do the work. What's it like to work with Lori and Mia to overcome blocks? And so since we only have 7 days in a challenge, like I said, we cleared this time so that we can support and teach and support. Since we have 7 days, you know, you guys are getting a lot of material. There's no expectation that you have to, you know, some people may have the time, other people may not have the time or capacity to get it all done. These videos will be up forever in the YouTube in the where you have the replay. We're not taking them down. This is what we love to do, is just give, so that people can, you know, take themselves as far as they can and are willing to go, knowing that we're right here, you're right, to love and support. So
I would like to also say that in the Academy, there's a 12 modular program that's incredible, that has this stuff in it and more. And you can do it in 6 months, you can do it in a year, it doesn't matter. But the cool thing is it was $1,700 to join the Academy. It's only $97 a month now, because we realized we've worked really hard at trying to streamline the best of the best at an affordable cost for people, because most people don't value themselves to even spend $97 a month. That's like not even as much as a cup of coffee a day. It's $3.23 a day. So I just want to share that with you, that the stuff and the guidance that you get in the Academy is powerful. We'll also, besides offering individual one-on-one coaching, we'll also take you aside if you need support in these earlier years of the Academy. We're in our first year. When it gets to, you know, a little bit more people, then we encourage you to it'll all work out. What I wanted to share next is we're sort of celebrating not our 1 year, because we've been together longer than that, but it is our 1 year since we had our first party last February. So we're having another one this February for everyone to celebrate their birthdays within this year. And so that's really the community that we are providing for you. Fun support besides this type of beautiful work that shifts and changes you. We are a sisterhood of women together. And so just know that's coming out February 20th, and you'll also see more advertisements. But I wanted to share that because this is about you. We love and adore you guys that come and sit with us and talk and, you know, and want to have change. We're change makers. So
we have a birthday tomorrow. Kelly's
yay!
birthday tomorrow. Happy
birthday!
There's something special. I don't know. I mean, there's something special about every birthday, but January, something, I don't know what it is, but there's something.
It's that
about January
Capricorn. Capricorns are very grounded. They're very business-like. You know, they can have a genius for that. Capricorns are great.
I love it. I love it. So yes, we're going to be, you know, sending out information about this. And as you're going through, remember a couple of things, a couple of big takeaways from today. You are not behind, right? Just doing what you can, just being here right now. Wow. Congratulations to you that you took the time. I know that how hard it is to show up for things because there's so much else going on in life. So this shows that you are somebody whose heart is open and you're ready for the change. You're ready. Something's calling you, and it's time for you to actually make the space to create it. So this challenge and the material is here for you. I want to encourage you a couple of things. I have a beautiful session to get to right now, so I'm going to sign off. But the things that I really want you to consider today is, you know, getting in the Facebook group or reaching out to us, really thinking about what is it that I'm, you know, as I'm going through the integration work, what are my aha moments? What are my questions? And then I want you to start to consider, what do I need? What is this work opening me up to that I need in order to get firmly rooted, in order to live as my greatest self day in and day out, having clarity, having confidence, not feeling overwhelmed, feeling like I'm in charge of my life as opposed to reactionary, right? These are the goals that we all want. And the Academy was created to help people get there, whatever it is that's on your heart. Relationships, health, business, your spirituality, just that feeling of being safe, secure, and peaceful, finding joy in every day. These are the things that we want, right? These are the real things that bring joy and fulfillment. This work, the Academy, joining the Academy and becoming a student of the greatest you, right? The student of who is the greatest version of me. I want that. I want to live that way. That's what the Academy is all about. So you're going to hear more about that. And we're looking forward to continuing this journey with you. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, questions, supporting you in the email group. Thank you. I would love to stay and keep this party going.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, but actually, I'm actually having a parts party with someone right now.
Woohoo!
Yeah, she's been taking that parts work and just rocking it. And so she is proof of the power of the work that we're teaching today. So much love to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the work, the homework this week that I can support you with before we say goodbye? All right. I'm suggesting that you, if you're on Facebook and you're in this group, to check out the group that this one will close down after the, after the challenge. This group closes down. But we have the Greatest You Revolution, and I did put a post up in Becoming Firmly Rooted group saying that that's the group. If you're not in there, you might want to jump over so that you can keep up to date on the fun stuff or the work that we're doing. So, all right, everybody, since there's no questions, have a beautiful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.